Hi everyone, I'm Barry Mitchell, and welcome to Simply Science. On this episode, we'll tell you about a special place to gaze at the stars and find out why cows, yes cows, are causing global warming. But first, after more than 2 years, many of us are ready to put the pandemic in the rearview mirror. It's not that easy for some who got sick and then later developed long-haul COVID symptoms. Here's Mike Gilliam.
Yeah, I ran the New York City Marathon. I ran the Berlin Marathon. I did the Brooklyn half, Manhattan half.
Nitza Roches was a runner, and she has the medals to prove it. But that was before, she says, long COVID knocked her off her feet.
One morning, I literally woke up out of bed, and I stood up, and I just fell to the floor. My legs didn't support me. They just felt like as if though they were encased in cement. I honestly thought I was becoming paralyzed.
Nitza, who is 44, contracted COVID in March of 2020, got over it, and a month later developed long COVID, defined by the World Health Organization as persistent symptoms for over 3 months that are not explained by another cause.
I woke up in the middle of the night, literally because of the sound of my own heart beating.
Her condition spiraled downward with symptoms she had never experienced.
Literally, as I was walking, the ground was shaking underneath me.
And you were feeling that in your body?
I was feeling that in my body. It was an internal vibration, and I was also having tremors in my legs and in my hands, and I kept having this sensation in my head and body of buzzing and sapping as if I was getting electrocuted.
This is her hand during one of the episodes, and Nitza says this was also happening to her vision. When she looked around, everything was shaking at that pace. She says she went to emergency room after emergency room and saw doctor after doctor, but they couldn't find anything wrong with her, and some said that it was all in her head.
I don't think words can express just how beyond horrifying that experience was. Because I was being told I was fine, yet as I'm seeing the doctor in front of me telling me that I was fine, the image of him and everything else was shaking.
She says she also had developed extremely high blood pressure. Her heart was often racing, and she was in constant pain.
Suffering from all the problems brought on by COVID, Nitza was searching anywhere she could for help. But she didn't have any luck until she came here to Mount Sinai Center for post-COVID care.
The center at Union Square was the first in the country and has already seen more than 6,000 patients.
The Center for Post-COVID Care is a medical practice that's set up with the goal of evaluating patients with persistent symptoms after COVID-19, and then after the evaluation, working on number one, managing the patients and sending them to the appropriate doctors and working with those doctors to treat what's happening with the patient.
Oh my God, the difference was astounding.
Dr. Chen says studies show that 8 to 10% of COVID patients develop long COVID. That would mean that more than 8 million long haulers are in the U.S.
It seems that those who have more acute illness in the beginning has a higher risk of getting long-haul COVID. So you're looking at patients who are admitted to the hospital, patients who are in the ICUs. They're the ones who tend to have a higher chance of having these long-lasting symptoms.
And he says even mild cases of COVID can lead to long COVID. There could be more mild cases now because more people are vaccinated. Dr. Chen says fully vaccinated and boosted people and children can get long COVID too, and it could last a lifetime.
If you look at the impact of these symptoms over the long term for many patients, you're talking about patients now in the adult population who can no longer work or can work at a reduced capacity. It's somewhat life-changing.
But for Nitsa, Mount Sinai Center was a lifesaver. Dr. Chen says if you had COVID and aren't getting better, take action.
There are centers like ours here in the city as well as around the country, and I would say use that resource.
I'm Mike Gilliam for Simply Science.
There's a hidden treasure in northern Manhattan, a planetarium with some unexpected charms. Here's Donna Hanover.
To the surprise of many, there is a planetarium in a basement in northern Manhattan.
So we're going to turn on time. You could see Mercury moving with respect to the stars.
It's in a science building at City College, and the director is Dr. James Hedberg.
It's a 30-foot dome, and we have 58 seats. This is our spherical mirror projection system, which we installed about 4 years ago. And with that, we can take anything on a computer and throw it up on the dome.
It was closed during the pandemic, so he kept planetarium fans involved with posts to the website like Mercury 3 Years of Celestial Motion. He put even more posts on their Instagram, like showing a solar system being born and revealing the light pollution from Earth's cities. But now the planetarium is open again, and first there were students from the astrophysics class.
Okay, so the lights are going to get dark. The constellations you know the most are probably all part of the zodiac.
How does this planetarium compare to more luxurious ones?
First of all, we use the same software as the big planetariums, but what we can offer that the big ones can't is a much more informal setting. What we can do here are live shows where guests can ask questions or say, hey, can we go to Jupiter? And I can say, of course, let's just turn around and go to Jupiter.
The informality means I could even try giving a star show myself.
This is Cassiopeia from Greek mythology. You can usually find her in the night sky because she's shaped a little like a W.
The planetarium is loved by neighborhood children, including Dr. Hedberg's 5-year-old daughter, Viola.
Saturn has rings that go around the planet.
The planetarium also has a hidden treasure, the original projector that is only rarely taken out for a spin.
This is the star ball coming out right now. It's part of the optomechanical projector system. You can see all these little holes in the ball right here. Those are the stars, each one carefully drilled in exactly the right place.
The Big Dipper.
Yeah, that's the Big Dipper. Inside is a really bright light bulb. As you get further down, you enter the analog computer, and this is where the planetary motions are calculated using gears and motors. It still works. It's amazing.
It still works?
Yeah, the light bulb turns on. It makes beautiful stars, too.
How did this planetarium get started?
This was built when the building was built. You have to remember, this was right after the space race, right, in the 60s and 70s, where space was on everyone's mind. And so all throughout the East Coast, there's high schools and colleges with planetariums in them, built on the hype from the Apollo missions.
There was a movie out recently called Don't Look Up about a comet crashing into Earth and destroying everything.
We discovered a very large comet.
Oh, good for you.
It's headed directly towards Earth.
This comet is what we call a planet killer.
Could that really happen?
Smaller ones have hit the Earth before. It's not very likely we'll have another impact anytime soon.
What is it about a planetarium that delights people?
It immediately whisks you away from the normal world. It takes you back in time, takes you in the future, takes you to other planets, all while doing it with your friends and colleagues.
I'm Donna Hanover for Simply Science.
What of the major causes of global warming is an overabundance in the atmosphere of methane, or should we say, moothane. The cow jumped over the moon. Or was it propelled by its own methane?
Because of the way they digest food, cows belch out millions of tons of methane, a greenhouse gas that's even more potent than carbon dioxide.
That heifer harmony accounts for about 25% of all the world's methane, an odorless gas that traps heat from the sun with the unwanted result of raising our planet's temperature. In other words, global warming. Cows have a 4-part stomach, and they need all 4 to break down the grass, hay, and other tough-to-digest roughage in their diet. Fermentation helps do the job in the rumen, their largest stomach. But fermentation also creates a useless byproduct, methane. And it comes out of which end?
Out of the front end. So the vast majority is actually from belches, not flatulence.
Agricultural scientists at the University of California, Davis had great success reducing dairy cow methane using feed additives. No, not that. Seaweed.
A red seaweed called Asparagopsis given at less reduced methane emissions by 60 to 80%, depending on what the animal's diet is.
How do you get the cows to eat the red seaweed? Maybe they don't like it. Maybe they don't want to eat it.
Yeah, actually, if in high doses, they don't like it. So what we do is we mix it with molasses to try to mask the taste of the salty seaweed kind of thing. Right now that I know of, at least 4 companies that are producing and working on this, and one of them came out and said that they will have enough seaweed to feed all cattle in the United States by 2030.
And now, point, counterpoint.
The headlines are massively over-exaggerating the amount of methane reduction that you get from these new feed additives, because you only get them from one small part of the cow's lives. In an individual cow in a feedlot, these seaweed additives can suppress cattle emissions by 60 to 90%, which is a very good thing. But most of the emissions from cattle don't occur on these feedlots. In the feedlots, cattle are being fattened up very quickly and don't actually emit nearly as much methane than they do out on the pasture.
A lot of cattle are range. In India, 330 million cows, and they are mostly on range. So how do you get to them? It's the beef cattle on range. That's the tricky part right now.
And the second drawback is that if we pay farmers a lot of money to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by adding these feed additives like seaweed and nitrogen-based additives, then those farmers in turn might want to produce many more cattle. And if they have a lot more cattle, they're not only belching more methane, but they're defecating into waterways. So we could actually end up increasing the environmental harm while we're trying to pay farmers to reduce it.
While we wait to see if seaweed is a game changer for the world's 1 billion cows, here's an idea. Put down the double cheeseburger.
Juicy broiled hamburgers with just the right touch of charcoal flavor from the fire have become an American institution.
Whatever the solution is around meat, there are big co-benefits for eating healthier diets across the board. If we were to eat more things like fruits, vegetables, beans, legumes, whole grains, that might crowd out a certain amount of the amount of meat that Americans are used to eating just by default.
When it comes to green and yellow vegetables, Ralph thinks of Wendy, the prettiest girl in the class.
There are other things that we know can reduce methane emissions. We can encourage less beef consumption. You can put beef in a different part of the store, or you can put a beef alternative right next to meat in the meat aisle, and folks will pick it up and put it in their basket, more than if it's off in the organic food section where no one browses.
Beef really does ring the bell.
Many of us have had an X-ray taken at one time or another, one of your doctor's most indispensable diagnostic tools. But how do those big machines work? Our Ari Goldberg gives us the inside story on X-rays.
X-ray motion pictures of such simple action represent an important forward step to science. Yes, X-ray is a wonderful invention.
Like many of humanity's great achievements, from Vaseline to vulcanized rubber to Viagra, X-rays were discovered accidentally. And these days, most of us have had one, be it for a broken bone or in the dentist's office. But how do medical X-rays actually work? Well, there are really three things to explore here. 1, what are X-rays? 2, how do machines create them in the first place? And 3, how those X-rays end up creating an image to help doctors tell you your tibia is in half. X-rays are a form of electromagnetic radiation. Electromagnetic radiation is all around us. Some of it is low frequency and low energy, like radio waves or microwaves. Somewhat greater is visible light that our eyes can see, and some is high energy and high frequency, like ultraviolet rays and X-rays. Sometimes, when strong radiation like that hits an atom, it's able to get absorbed or knock electrons off that atom. This is called ionizing radiation. In small doses, it's generally harmless, but in large doses, we tend to want to protect the atoms and cells in our body from getting too bombarded, like putting on sunscreen to protect from UV rays if you're going to be on the beach all day. And ionizing radiation is key for how X-ray machines do their job. The basis of the machine is a pair of electrodes inside a vacuum tube. On one end of the tube, there is a cathode electrode, and on the other, an anode electrode. The cathode is a filament that gets heated up to the point of having so much energy its electrons start tumbling off. It's a similar principle to how fluorescent lamps emit light. Now, where are all these tumbled off, negatively charged free electrons to go? Well, they're going to rush to the nearest positive charge. That would be the anode. And because this is all going on in a vacuum, all the air has been sucked out, and there's nothing to get in these electrons' way. So, they can more efficiently, fast and hard, collide into the anode. That anode is typically made of tungsten. As a result of the collision, tungsten's own electrons are jostled, and that releases a very high burst of energy, high enough on the spectrum of electromagnetic radiation to be an X-ray that can be controlled and aimed. But how does all this produce an image when we point it at a patient in special X-ray film? Well, remember how X-rays are a form of ionizing radiation, able to knock off atoms' electrons and be absorbed? That comes into play here. So, generally speaking, larger atoms, more densely packed, have a much larger ability to absorb that larger energy X-ray, while smaller, less densely packed atoms, in turn, are less likely to absorb the X-rays. Our body's soft tissue, skin, organs, muscles, is generally made up of smaller atoms and is less dense, so the X-rays pass through them to expose the film, similar to how visible light exposes regular film. But calcium, on the other hand, is a relatively larger atom, and bones are dense. So the calcium in our bones is going to interact much more with that ionizing radiation of the X-rays, blocking it from hitting the film, keeping that part of the film unexposed. Where the film's been exposed, that's the black part, and where it hasn't, the bones, that's what we see as the white part. So if there's a gap in a bone, say from a break, the X-rays are going to go right through there, showing off that nice skiing accident on the film. Now, of course, it may not be too much comfort to know all this when you're in pain in the radiology department. But then again, it's always nice to have a conversation topic when people are signing your cast. For Simply Science, I'm Ari Goldberg.
Queens College has its own campus nutritionist, and she offers up to 4 free sessions for students, faculty, and staff. And now, here's the first in a series of tips to help you eat healthy.
Food prices are through the roof, and it's really hard to eat healthfully on a budget. So I have some suggestions to stock your pantry in your dorm. The first thing that I always tell people is you want to eat from home. You want to eat your own food. You know what's in it. There's no hidden salt, fat, sugar, things that you don't want to be eating that can be damaging to your health. Start in the produce aisles. Look for the things that are cheapest and those things tend to be the most in season and the freshest. So you're looking for things in the produce aisle that are gonna go bad. You want your food to go bad. If your food is alive, it's gonna help keep you alive. So we want fresh food as much as possible. I also am not afraid to use the deli counter. A lot of times we don't want to buy the raw ingredients to chop up the whole salad, to cook the chicken. It feels so overwhelming, especially if there's just one or two of you. Roasted vegetables are a great choice as our prepared salad. Stock your pantry, things that don't go bad, canned vegetables, beans, tuna, they're great staples, nut butters, for sure use those, seeds, nuts, those kinds of things. And then ready-to-eat foods are also a great choice. Things like hummus or baba ganoush or a yogurt really can inexpensively help you base and center really quality meals. Heat and eat options are amazing. There's some great places out there like Trader Joe's where you can get sort of ethical, high-quality foods that you just pop in the microwave or in the oven, already grilled chicken or lean meats that can just sort of be a base and a foundation. They're less expensive than eating out. The ingredients are right there for you to look at so you can make better choices. And then when it comes to packaged and processed foods, which we all use and need to some extent, be looking when it comes to your bread and your cereals and your crackers for at least 3 grams of fiber. You're gonna know there's more nutrient density and that their foods are gonna be less processed if there's more fiber in there. And look for ingredients that you recognize on the food label under the ingredient list. So those are my big tips to help you eat on a dime.
Here's a story we think deserves a second look. A group of scientists at Hunter College successfully killed cancer cells using olive oil. Here's Carol Ann Riddell.
Is a powerful weapon in the fight against cancer sitting in your kitchen? It could be, according to research out of Hunter College, that shows some extra virgin olive oils that are rich in a component called oleocanthal can kill cancer cells.
When we put this compound, it's called oleocanthal, on the cancer cells, they died within as short as an hour.
So what was your reaction when you saw this?
I was aghast, and I said, "Whoa, this is astonishing." And it didn't. It didn't have that effect on normal cells. It was not totally benign to the normal cells, but there was a clear difference between cancer cells being more sensitive to this compound. And the fact that it was working in a very short time indicated that it was a unique kind of cell death.
In addition to Hunter, the study was done by scientists from Weill Cornell Medicine, Rutgers University, and Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Limor Goren, who is the study lead author, decided to test not just oleocanthal directly, but olive oil itself. She explained she started with one that had been sent to her from Greece, and then included others.
So I went down to the supermarket and I bought another olive oil. And I repeated the same thing, and I put, the supermarket olive oil on one plate of sales, and again, that olive oil from Core Food that's supposedly good on another plate of sales. And lo and behold, I came back the next morning, the cancer cells that got the supermarket olive oils are happy and proliferating, and the cancer cells that got the other olive oils are all dead again. My assumption was that one olive oil has much more oleocanthal, and therefore it was able to kill cancer cells. And then it took me about 3 years to prove that hypothesis, but I was able to prove it.
So the first question that came to my mind when I heard about this, how do I know which olive oil is best? Well, there is an easy way that consumers can figure that out right at home, and it's a taste test.
The oleocanthal molecule is a molecule that activates a particular taste bud that exists only in the back of our throat, and that's a taste for a peppery, kind of like black pepper, not chili pepper taste, so it stings the back of our throat. And because oleocanthal activates that taste bud, oils that have a lot of oleocanthal would feel very peppery or stinging in the back of our throat, and it's something that's very easy to tell.
Very good. Cheers, guys.
Cheers. Salud.
I've got it too.
We tried a blind taste test of 3 different olive oils.
Okay, that's got to be the most.
Yeah. Researchers say the taste test is important because olive oils sold in U.S. grocery stores aren't labeled for oleocanthal content. And they add that while there is evidence about oleocanthal and preventing cancer, for now there are not enough studies looking at it therapeutically. Nonetheless, their results aren't mind-boggling.
We've done experiments on mice that are cancer-prone. These mice always get pancreatic cancer by the time they're about 9 or 10 weeks old, and we're able to extend their lifespan significantly. When you translate it to human years, it's equal to like 20 years.
The bottom line, diet does make a difference in so many ways, and the right olive oil could help.
There are things in diet that can really be preventative for cancer.
So have you added more olive oil to your own diet?
Absolutely. Yeah, I take a swig every day or every other day, and you know, I think it's a prescription for good health and reduced incidence of cancer.
Well, cheers to our health.
Cheers again.
I'm Carol Ann Riddell for Simply Science.
And that's our show. A quick reminder to check us out on social media. We'd love to hear from you. Until next time, Barry Mitchell saying stay safe. We need the viewers. And thanks for watching Simply Science.